Alright, alright, so this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2, Part 1 review. And one of the things that I realized that I didn't do well with the first season review is that it wasn't so much a review, more of a recap with a review on the side. So it ended up being almost an hour long. So I'm going to try to cut down on that and just talk about the main points. Which is going to be hard because Season 2 has a lot more than Season 1 going on. But anyway, Season 2 really kicks it up a notch. And just like the first season, there are 10 episodes in the first part and the 12 in the second. So these are the first 10 episodes. And, just rewatching it again, that's redundant. I totally forgot most of this stuff because I had to rush through it. Uh, I told you season 1 I missed, so I watched it on Netflix when it came out. When I got done with that season 2 had 2 episodes, or first part of season 2 had 2 episodes left. And so, I went on Amazon Video, bought bought the first 5 episodes, and then watched the first 4 episodes, watched the rest of the 9 before the finale on Hulu. And so I kind of rushed through them because I'm like, I gotta hurry up and get to the finale because it's on TV. I'll tape it and I'll watch it on TV. And so I rushed through a lot of this and missed a lot of stuff that now that season 3, I've watched it all. I'm like, wow, how did I miss this stuff? But first of all, let me talk about one of the best things about not just this season, but the first season 2, and even some of the choices they're making with season 3. There are so many choices that they make that if they made a different choice, it would not have worked out. And the biggest choice is Ward, because they could have done so many things with Ward. And for me, when I'm watching it, even with the first season, they had so many cliches they could have done that they didn't. And I was assuming they were going to happen, and whenever they didn't happen, I didn't even think about that going into this season. But, I thought about the cliches. I thought, well, they're using Ward, he's giving them information, he's proving himself trustworthy. Yeah, he'll probably be back on the team by the end of the season. No. Even with his brother, they're both saying that the other is lying. And so I'm thinking, Ward's brother is probably as evil as he's saying he is, and they'll prove that. And sure enough, his brother says, I did force you to kill the younger brother because Mom didn't torture him like she did us, and I wanted her to suffer. And so I'm thinking, okay, see, Ward's not that. And then like a few minutes later, he's at Hydra. Whitehall's pulling up the video. He killed his family and burned down the house. I'm like, are you? So they're not, they could have taken Ward on this redemption story. Instead, they just take him full evil. They completely changed it up on me, and I love that. I don't want them to just do the same old redemption storyline because I've seen that so many times that when I was watching this, I'm thinking, please don't do that. Like that would just be so boring, and they don't. So it's awesome. And so that's kind of where that one goes. And let me just say this real quick about the redemption storyline. I have seen it done right before. If you've watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, Zuko's redemption storyline is great. How they handle him joining the good guys team, and then they don't accept him at first, so he kind of has to do things to prove himself. He really has to prove himself. So it has been done right before. It's also been done not right with the librarians returning on Sunday. The first season, like the very first episode, one of the team betrays them to the evil organization. And sure enough, they're just like, well, she had a good reason for it, so we'll... And to their credit, though, one of the reasons why I did, the show was good. And one of the reasons why it didn't affect me too much is because one of the other team members didn't accept her back right away. It took some time for him to really trust her. So, they didn't do it completely wrong, but the fact that they were just like, oh well, you had a good reason, so we'll let you back on the team at the very end. One episode later, it's like, oh come on, like that's just it's a little too trusting. So they really did take the Ward storyline in a way that I wanted them to take it, and I didn't expect them to take it, but they did. Another storyline is just, I mean, Sky's whole storyline, like just everything that happens with her. And this season, I don't know if I've said this before, but I've got like a major, Sky, Daisy, Chloe Bennett crush. And this season is really where it happened. The first season, I thought she was pretty, and at the end of the season, she had a bit of a character arc, which was nice. But this season, she really, like, you find out this show is all about her. It's not, well, this season at least. The third season, it's definitely more about, I guess, furthering the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But this season is all about her, and you really get to see a different side of her that we didn't see in the first season. And so that's when the crush started. But there are so many different ways that they could have taken her story. They could have taken it where, Ward was like convinced that she was gonna like him at the end of this all. Like she was gonna be okay with him because he helped her out, and they don't. Like throughout the whole season, she's disgusted by him. She's intrigued by what he's saying about her father, but she's just disgusted by him, what he did, everything he did to them, and it makes sense. Because he betrayed them. He nearly killed Fitz and Simmons. He tried to kill her and May. So, it makes sense that she hates his guts. And so even at the very end, like the last episode, her father, goes after Whitehall, and so Ward escapes and, gets her out of her bonds. And then she Ward's like, stay there, I'm going to check it out. She goes and grabs a gun from the Hydra agent and just shoots him. And you're like, holy crap! Holy crap! She just shot Ward, and you're cheering it on because you're like, kill him. But just the fact that she, even though he was trying, he clearly had feelings for her, and he was trying to make it up to her what he did, but she wasn't having it, and that's a great thing because I've seen so many, female characters just be taken so stupidly because they're all about their feelings and oh my gosh, he's handsome and he's strong. But no, she's just like, screw that. You betrayed me. Eat some bullets. And so it's just, I love how they handle that. And then also with her father, it could have been like you're my dad. Even after she saw that, she still could have done that whole thing where, it's my dad, he's my father, I have to love him, he's family. But no, she's very clearly like upset. And that I love that scene where they first meet and he's talking to her and the whole time like she won't look at him. And when he tells the story about her mother, you can tell she's upset, and he goes to comfort her and puts his hand on her shoulder. And right when he does that, like you see this look of just disgust on her face, like, she doesn't want to pull away because she wants to be comforted. She just found out her mom died by the hand of Whitehall, no less. But at the same time, she doesn't want that comfort coming from her dad, because her dad's a monster, and she knows that. And, they do. I'll get more into that storyline in part 2 because they really take it in a good way after this. But just, like I said, the way they handle these stories, they could have taken them so many different ways, and they don't. And that's really what is great about this show. And the final one that I need to talk about is, of course, Coulson. Like I said in the first season review, his death, they could have just made that just something that happened because it's Marvel. Oh, well, we had this secret, super secret stuff that we injected you with, and now you're back alive, so huzzah. But they didn't do that. They made Coulson's death the main part of season 1. That's what Garrett really wanted to find out about. How did they bring him back to life? What was this serum that could do that? Because he needed it for himself. Because he was dying. But they didn't stop there. Because one of the things, when Garrett got injected, he started carving. And they found out that a lot of the patients, when they got injected, started carving. And of course, it's because it's alien DNA. alien DNA and human DNA does not, combine well. And so now Coulson's carving through this season, and you're like, holy crap, he's losing his mind. But it's a big deal. It's a big part of this season. It's what drives this season forward. Is Coulson trying to find out what's going on? Why is he carving? What has caused this? And they have that one episode where he finds the other people that are carving, and they finally figure out what it is. And some people might say that it's a bit of a Deus Ex Machina, that oh, they figured out what the design means and now they're okay. That's it. They just needed to figure out what it meant. But it makes sense. I don't think it's too much of a, they do explain that's what it was. It was driving them crazy because they didn't know what it was, and so when they finally figure out, now they're at peace, and that makes sense. That I've had situations like that before where I want to know something and it's driving me crazy. Not literally crazy, but it's really physically like hurting because I want to know so bad what this means, whatever it is. And when you finally figure it out, there's kind of a release. You're like, okay, now I know. So it does make sense to me, that that's how that gets resolved. But I mean, once again, just the way they handle that story is just, it's not just another fleeting thing. It's not just Coulson comes back to life, no explanation needed. And even Sky gets injected. They're like, why aren't you being affected? Because they find out she's an 084 in the first season, and now that's kind of, what if she's an alien? What if she's got alien DNA already in her? Maybe that's why she's not affected. And of course, you find out later why that is, but once again, more mystery. They're not. There's a lot less mystery in this second season compared to the first season. The first season, just so many unanswered questions. Had no idea where the story was going. Didn't know about the secret organization. And so now that it's Hydra behind it, now that that there's alien DNA behind the Tahiti project, a lot of questions get answered, but there's still more questions that pop up about Sky's father, about why Sky isn't affected. Mainly questions about Sky. Like I said, second season mostly about her. But those are the three main storylines between Ward, Sky, and Coulson that they really could have they could have ended it. They could have not taken it any farther after season one. They could have made stupid decisions in the second season that really would have taken away from the quality of it. And I mean, it kind of cheapens it. A lot of, I'm going to reference Walking Dead again, but what everybody's talking about, that main character that died, everybody's saying he's not dead, but if he's not, it kind of cheapens the show a bit. It makes it feel unrealistic because, even if somebody was on top of him and that's what's being eaten, he's still not going to survive that. There's like 1,000 walkers right there. There's no way to survive that, realistically. And so if he doesn't die, first of all, it shows that they don't have the spine to kill off one of their main characters. Just go through with it if that's how it is. And it really does cheapen the show. It makes them feel like, oh, well, it's that character. He's not going to die. So, that there are certain decisions you have to make. And, if you make them, stick with them. Because that's really what the show should be, is the writer's decisions and what happens based on those decisions. But go into some of the other characters, because, I mean, it's not just those main stories that really drive this season forward. It's also some of the side stories that really you can relate to. Because frankly, I mean, this is Marvel. It's a show about aliens and superhumans. We can't relate to that. We're humans. We don't have, aliens don't exist in our world. Superheroes don't exist in our world. So we can't really relate to some of those stories, with Sky and her, alien DNA, and Tahiti and her father who is a mass murderer. We can't relate to that. Coulson with the alien DNA inside him and these markings that are like driving him insane. We can't relate to that. Ward, his betrayal, we can kind of relate to that a little. The one story though that just really, really knocks it out of the park is Fitz. And even though I have a huge crush on Sky/Daisy, Fitz is my favorite character just because of how well he's written, how well Ian Sacker, I think, I can't remember how to pronounce it. Um, the way that he portrays Fitz, and I mean his acting is spot on in this season. I'll just talk about the first episode because the first episode really, when I saw it, I was like, holy crap! Like first season was good, it ended well, but second season, first episode just picked up right where it left off and said, let's keep going. Let's build the intensity. Let's build this, you know, let's build this story some more. Basically, it's just Shield. They have information. You meet some new agents, which I'll talk about them in a second. Um, and they're getting information from an ex-Shield agent that it's an OA fort back from like Agent Carter's time. It's something she found when they raided the last Hydra base. Um, and so they go to this warehouse and to get it, and they meet. There's this guy working for Hydra. He can absorb like any material that he touches. Um, and so they just that's the storyline going on in the background. You've got Fitz, and he's still brain damaged from what war did. Putting him at the bottom of the ocean, lack of oxygen, his brain was damaged, and so there's a lot of times he can't find the words that he wants to say. And so the whole episode you see him with Simmons, and Simmons is like trying to convince him, go talk to them, be a part of the group. He's like, I'm not part of the group anymore. They look at me like I need help. They look at me like I'm damaged. And so he's going through all of this, and mainly Coulson has him working on cloaking technology for the bus because they need to take the bus out, but they're trying to be they're trying to be stealthy because they can't do that. They can't do their business because there's a general who is trying to capture them because he doesn't trust Shield. So they need cloaking technology so they can do it. They can still do what they need to do, but now they're going to be hidden. And so Fitz is trying to do it, but he can't. He can't figure it out because of the brain damage, because of what happened. And so Simmons is encouraging him the whole episode. And finally, they get to the warehouse to find this 084 that they were looking for. But that's not the only reason they're there. May, Sky, and Trip go after this Quinjet that has the cloaking technology. And Coulson's talking to Mac, and he's like, I know this was a risk, but we needed that cloaking technology. Said, I have no doubt Fitz would get it eventually, but he's not the same. He hasn't been the same ever since Simmons left. And when he said that, I was like, what did he say? And they kind of do like a pan around Fitz, and you see Simmons is standing right behind him, and then they keep panning, and Simmons is gone, and he's still talking to her. And like we saw at one point, she put her hand on his shoulder, and he touched her hand, and you see him do it again, but she's not there, and you're like, oh my gosh, like your heart just breaks for him because he was just this, he was this character that you grew to love in the first season. You kind of felt a bit sorry for, but at times he stood up and had his moments and showed that he didn't need help. He was able to handle himself. And so seeing that, seeing him at this new low just really hurts. And so that's the first part of his story that really kind of gets you. The second part, continuing on with the with him, Simmons is still there in his mind, and he's still talking to her for the first few episodes. But I think it's the third episode where Donnie Gill from the first season, which I like that they brought him back, because he had that scene at the end of his episode where he drew a finger across and ice crystals came. But they brought him back, and Hydra apparently used him as an asset. They brainwashed him. And S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't know this going in, so they think that maybe Hydra's just trying to get to him first before S.H.I.E.L.D. does. And Fitz, he suspects that something's going on because he can tell Coulson's keeping something from him, and so he steals the keys to this room that's inside of this base, and everybody's out going after Donnie, so he goes downstairs to where they're keeping Ward, and I love the way that they handle Ward again, really good, but just how like the setup for the room feels really good. It's hard to describe, but the way they set up the room, it's like this. You've got two halves to it. The first half is where he's being kept. It's got a little bunk, and like a toilet, a sink, and then they got the room, stairs leading up, and then there's like this invisible. It's like an invisible shield that keeps him from getting out. And when you get close, you can see it. You can see it there. So anyway, Fitz goes down there and sees Ward. And like I said, Ian DeCurtis, really, really great actor because you see all the different emotions between shock, between sadness, between fear, between just really unbelievable for him that Ward's here. The guy that tried to kill him, the guy that caused him to have brain damage, he's right there. And so there's this really intense scene where Ward's talking to him like he's his friend. He's like, "Look, I'm glad you're okay," And he's like, "You tried to kill me." And he's like, "No, I didn't. Like, I gave you a chance. I gave you and Simmons a chance to get out, like you always do, like you did." He's like, "No, you don't understand. Like, I'm damaged because of you." And then like cuts off the oxygen levels, makes it a lot lower in his room to show him what it was like. He's like, the first thing to die are brain cells. And it's just like this really intense just moment where you feel like Fitz could actually kill him, but you understand, you really feel all of his emotion, and God, I love Fitz's character. And of course, Ward gives him some information that helps Coulson and the team with Donnie's capture. And from there, Fitz he finally stops hallucinating Simmons when he befriends Mac, and Mac's just he's this big guy who has some engineering skills, but also you can tell you want him on your side in a fight because he's huge, he's built. And so Fitz befriends him, and Hunter for that matter. They work together on one mission where Fitz kind of helps. He helps out, and so he finally comes out of his shell and starts. First of all, tells them this story about Simmons because Hunter's been talking constantly about his ex, and just now he's one of the guys, and he has this new friendship that he can now grow. And from there, I mean, just all the way till the end. When Simmons comes back, you can see they're clashing a bit, and even the penultimate episode before they work together at this alien city, that he's like, "Look, I'm gonna leave the lab so you can run it because you do the job better than me, and I'll work for you, but I can't work with you." And you can see that Simmons is still affecting him. Like everything that happened between them is still affecting him. But ultimately, he and Simmons finally have this moment where Simmons finally understands what he's trying to say, and they're finally able to work together. And that's how that ends for this first part of the season. And as far as Simmons, she really did grow in between the first and second season because now she starts off working inside of Hydra, and the first time you figure this out is Donnie Gill. She kind of gives Coulson the information to lead them to Donnie Gill, and so she's working inside there. A few episodes later, she's discovered as a S.H.I.E.L.D. informant, and that's where you meet Bobby. And she's just this total badass that can beat up anybody. Turns out she's Hunter's ex. But anyway, for Simmons, once she comes back, you can tell that she's struggling because she knows that she's the main reason for Fitz's problems. Because Fitz he's not the same when she's around. He's obviously struggling when she's there. I think mainly just because of what happened between them at the ocean and the fact that he's confused, she's confused. But like I said, they do finally come together at the end, so that's nice. Now, going on to Hunter and Bobby. You meet Hunter at the beginning. He's part of this group of mercenaries that are now a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. One of them is Hartley, and I'm still not really sure about I guess they're friends. They grew to become friends or something. I couldn't really tell if they were dating or not. They weren't really clear. And even the second time around, I'm still not clear on their relationship. But Hartley ends up dying because she touches this obelisk that become the main point of the second season so far. And these two mercenaries that he's inside of S.H.I.E.L.D. with, Hartley vouched for him, Bobby vouched for him, but when his two friends die, it's almost like you kind of feel like he's not going to be a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore. He has a chance to sell him out, and he kind of does, but at the same time, he doesn't really, because he could have led them there, but instead he says that he'll bring Coulson into General Talbot, the guy hunting S.H.I.E.L.D., and then shakes the tail that Talbot puts on him, so he doesn't lead them back to S.H.I.E.L.D. So you kind of wonder where his loyalties are, but he does end up joining S.H.I.E.L.D., and he becomes a valuable asset, just mainly because first of all, he's a great fighter. You need great fighters in this organization. But he provides a lot of the comic relief. Because he always ends up with the ladies. He always has stories about his Demon X. And speaking of Demon X, Bobby, you first meet her in the episode where Simmons gets found out that she's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. And she seems like this really intimidating Hydra soldier that just, she's going to find out any S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, and she's going to rat him out, and she's going to... But no, she turns out to be another S.H.I.E.L.D. agent working inside Hydra for Simmons' protection. Coulson knew her before S.H.I.E.L.D. fell apart, so there's a bit of trust there, which is nice. But, their story doesn't really get interesting until the second part, so I'll talk a bit more about them there. But basically, whenever they're together, trouble's coming, and even Max says, whenever, because they were arguing, and then in one episode they hook up again, and Max talking to Fitz, he's like, there's a storm coming, and of course Fitz doesn't, he's like, no, the weather outside's fine, the skies are blue, he's like, no, never mind. So you can just tell that they're one of those couples that, whenever they're together, they're arguing, but that arguing is what makes them work it out. So, but like I said, I'll talk more about them in part 2. And then bit about Hydra, I guess. You find out this new villain, Dr. Whitehall, and you see him at the beginning with Agent Carter when she's taken out this Hydra base in 1945, and then you see him later in present day, and you're like, how is this happening? Turns out he found Sky's mother back when she was married to, or whenever she was with Sky's dad. And at this point, Whitehall was really old, and he finds her, and she's still the same age as when he found her when he was young, in 1940s. And so she never ages, and so Whitehall, cuts her up, uses her organs, her blood, and became young again. They didn't really explain how he was able to do it, but because Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and he was inside of a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility, under lockdown, some undercover Hydra agents got him out, and that's how he was able to find Sky's mom. But this creates the main conflict for Sky's dad, in that Whitehall is the one that killed his wife, and you don't find this out until near the very end of the season, I think the third to last episode. And so you realize that even though Sky's dad has been working with Hydra, it's a means to an end. It's so he can get to Whitehall, because Whitehall, he needs Whitehall's help to get to Sky because Hydra has the resources, but you know that in the end it's just so he can kill Whitehall for what he's done. And of course, this also doesn't work out for him because Coulson, when they're infiltrating Hydra's compound in the last episode, Coulson gets to Whitehall first. And this just enrages him. And you find out a bit more about Sky's dad in that you know that whenever he gets mad, things don't end well for whoever's around. He and Coulson have this nice fight, but in the end, Coulson just. It's like Sky's dad has this rage factor that whenever he's enraged, he gets twice as strong. And that does also come into play later in the second part of the season. But that's the main story there for Whitehall and Sky's dad, just why they're together. And also Ward does infiltrate Hydra as well, mainly to help Sky and her dad reunite because that's he wants to help Sky because of how he feels about her. But of course she doesn't feel the same way because she doesn't want to see her dad and she doesn't trust Ward. So in the end it doesn't end well for him. And then Agent 33, she is shown at the beginning getting brainwashed by Whitehall, same way that Donnie Gill was. And there's an episode where she disguises herself as May, and this other agent named Bakshi, he disguised himself as General Talbot. And at the end of this episode, May electrocutes her. They're using this face. It's like almost a thin piece of paper, but it's not paper, obviously. But they put it over their face, and they scan somebody else's face, they scan somebody else's voice, and it turns them, it turns their face into that person. So she's disguised herself as May. Well, when she and May fight at the end, which first of all was kind of surreal, and even Coulson's sitting there as they're about to battle. He's like, I can't believe I'm the only one seeing this. So once again, I will talk about there are once again several great jokes, self-aware jokes, and that really didn't change that much. I did mention in season 1 how it's not as light and as fun as the first season, but there's still several good jokes and several moments where you just you do laugh because it's funny. These characters work really well off of each other, and Coulson just has these great lines that always make me laugh. So that's she and May fight, and then May electrocutes her face thing, and so she ends up being stuck looking like May but having this big scar on the side of her face. And at the end of the episode, when Whitehall dies, she has nowhere else to turn, so she finds Ward, and Ward, having lost Garrett, who he was following, understands where she's coming from, and so they escape together, and they become more important in part 2. Let's see. Bakshi, I talked a little bit about. He's an agent for Hydra that when Ward escapes and gets his brother to admit all that stuff and then kills his family, he's being followed by S.H.I.E.L.D. They're trying to get him back. Or no, this happens before he goes and finds his brother to get S.H.I.E.L.D. off of his back because they're searching for him after he escapes. He gives them Bakshi, and so Bakshi's kind of the reason they find out about Whitehall and what happens. And he does become important later on, but for now he's just an agent of Hydra. Senator Ward, who is Ward's older brother, he's about to announce a whole thing against S.H.I.E.L.D., and so Coulson decides to give him Grant Ward, his little brother, and convinces him not to go against S.H.I.E.L.D. because he's obviously a senator. He's got a lot of power, and so that's the reason why Ward is able to escape. He says later on that why do you think you were able to escape? 4 of my guys that were put on detail, and so obviously I don't know whether he's lying or not about the one thing I really like about the 2 Ward brothers is that you really can't tell who's lying. At times Grant Ward seems very psychopathic. Like he's obviously lying. But then again, he like I don't know. They both seem like they could be lying, and it doesn't help that the guy playing Ward's older brother played Peter on White Collar. So it's like you feel yourself inclined to trust him if you've seen that show because he's the good guy in that show. Um, but that, that's just me making connections to other shows. But they do really have you can't really tell who to trust. You can't really tell who's telling the truth. And even in the very end, like right before he admits to it, he's completely believable until he finally says, "Yeah, I did it." So that's Ward's older brother, and of course he dies. Um, May, she's not really that interesting in this season. She's Sky's SO, so she's training Sky this whole time, which is nice to have some of their interaction. Um, she's just she's just May in this one. She's even as far as Coulson goes, like she's supposed to be looking out for him, finding out about this drawing that he's doing, trying to see if trying to make sure he doesn't go off the deep end. But even that, like halfway through, Sky takes over because May's on a mission and Sky finds out about the drawing. But she does, in the second season or in the second part of this season, she definitely does. You find out a bit more about her, which is very good. Let's see, what else? Oh, of course, Reyna. She is handled very well, in my opinion. After the first season, you kind of thought that maybe she was just gonna disappear, but you find out that she knows Sky's dad at the end of the last episode of the first season. She has that moment where she gives her dad, or Sky's dad, the picture of Sky, and so you find out that she's working for him. You find out that she's terrified of him, and that's why she wants to get to Sky. And so her story kind of evolves from she's trying to get Sky to go meet her father so she can get the obelisk to take to Whitehall because Whitehall's going to kill her if she doesn't get the obelisk back from Sky's dad. So she's kind of in the middle of all this until Sky's dad decides she's going to go to Whitehall with the obelisk. And then, she gets S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of takes her and puts a tracker in her so she can they can keep tabs on her and kind of use her as bait to flush out Whitehall because they know he's looking for her. But in the end, like she ultimately, you find out that she is not just helping Sky's dad, for his sake, but he's also allowing her to help him because she's able to touch the obelisk, which means she has some sort of special abilities as well. Because only worthy people, which they don't really explain what worthy means until much later, worthy just means alien DNA. But she's able to touch the obelisk, so that's why he's allowing her to help. And so that's her story. In the end, she and Sky both go into the evolution chamber, whatever it's called, and they both do get that the obelisk changes them, and you don't see the change until the second season or second part of the second season. I keep saying that. So her story is interesting. I do like how they handled her character. She is a very interesting villain in my opinion because she seems so nice and innocent, but behind that innocent smile is just this devious mind working up what's her next move. And finally, R.I.P. Agent Triplet. Really became a good part of the team last year. It's like he took Ward's spot because, like he said, you need a specialist, I'm a specialist. And so throughout this whole season, like he just has these moments that you're like, I like his character. Like he's not so much Ward because Ward had just this kind of at the beginning of season 1 he just had this personality of I never find anything funny, and obviously as it went along he slowly changed, but he's already the complete opposite of what Ward was last season. and he's joking around with people. He has a lot of nice one-liners. He and Sky get along very well. He and Fitz and Simmons get along very well. He really did help them out at the end of last season. So there's a lot of trust there, and there's a lot of you know emotion there, and there's a connection between the team. Uh, but unfortunately, this first half of the season is the end for him. He also goes into the I can't even remember the crystal chamber, whatever, that Sky and Reyna go into, and after they get covered in the whatever it is that changes them by the crystal, he thinks the only way to stop it is to just destroy it, and so he kicks it off, and in doing so gets stuck with a couple of the crystals himself, and so he changes into the rock that whenever you touch it, the obelisk, that's what you turn into, like this rock thing. And so that scene is very emotional, not just because you're not really sure what just happened to Sky, but then when Trip kicks it off, he's like really upset until he realizes, holy crap, he looks down, sees this crystal, and then turns to stone, and that's the first thing Sky sees as soon as like I don't even know what to call it. Like it's just the word is there in my mind, but it's not coming out. But she gets covered in that stuff that changes her, and when it starts to fall off, like the first thing she sees is Trip turned to stone, and it's just this really emotional scene. Like the music is swelling. You see all everybody's like you see everybody kind of as everything is like being shaken. You see everybody kind of trying to protect each other from stuff falling, and you just you see that whatever it is, Sky's causing it. She's like really upset about what's going on, and just the look on her face as she watches Trip just like crumble is just really emotional. Really gets to you, especially because like I said, I rushed through this first season, and so I completely Trip was there, but I was missing those scenes because I was rushing through it. I watched it, but it felt so rushed that it was just like, whenever he died, I was like, man, not Trip. But this time, actually going through it and paying attention to it all, not trying to, oh, I need to hurry to get to this next one, just, it really did hit me a bit more. I was like, man, this really is sad. Like, Trip was a good part of the team. Like, he really brought it. So, trying to think if I missed anything important. Well, let me just do a quick, I guess, recap of everything I just said. Like I said, season 1 ended very well. It didn't start very well, but it ended very well. And they picked up from there and said, we're going to keep going. We're going to make it even better. And they did. They start that first episode, like I said, finding out what's going on with S.H.I.E.L.D., finding out that they're fighting with Hydra, finding out about Fitz. It worked together so well. And then the second episode, first of all, more S.H.I.E.L.D. agents dying. A lot more death in this second season. Whether it's the two S.H.I.E.L.D. agents at the beginning or just random people dying because of Hydra attacks or something. Hydra kills like so many generals and Navy men and all of this stuff, for their purposes, for their purpose of world domination, because that's who Hydra is. And so a lot of death in this season, but just, more intensity, a bit more mystery, not just the straightforward season. And once again, very good choices with storylines, not taking the obvious route, not going the whole redemption story, not making it the father-daughter get together. Just really, really good choices for this season. And I think that's about it. Second part of the season ramps it up even more, so I'm going to be talking a lot then too. But till then, I hope you guys are If you are watching this, I hope that you've actually seen the show and that you're not just watching this for a recap, because it really deserves to be watched and deserves a lot more attention than it's getting, because it really does a great job. And this is just, I mean, this is even without the movies involved. When you throw in the movies, it just makes it even better. But I'll see you guys at the next review. Peace out.